hope you enjoyed that little tour of First Day as much as I enjoyed weaving it. I hope you'll watch it again, which would make it less ephemeral than this spider web, which is attached in part to my husband's truck, which will probably be going somewhere today. Oh, the work of that little spider and her persistence in starting again, as necessary. And it was evening and it was morning, first day. It's interesting to me that in the original Hebrew, the expected "the" is omitted, so it's just first day. I think it's fitting that the very first Sunday of Ordinary Time this year gives us the very first verses of Genesis. To get us situated, the book of Genesis, which means beginning, can be thought of as a parable, a story, extending all the way from creation to the death of Joseph, son of Jacob. After the death of Joseph, son of Jacob, comes the great forgetting, 400 years, in which Egypt forgot how Joseph saved them from famine, or even who he was. And Egypt turned the Israelites from honored guests into slaves. Then comes the Exodus, defining narrative of the Hebrew people. Exodus in which God blazes into action, calls the children of Israel out of slavery and darkness into freedom, calls them into the harsh light of the desert sun, into an arduous journey to a promised land, a journey during which they have to grow up and get coherent about who they are. First, though, comes creation, which is where we are today. The ancient Hebrews who set down the story were naturally influenced by the creation narratives around them. When we read, "The earth was welter and waste, and darkness over the deep, and God's breath was hovering," we hear echoes of the ancient Near Eastern mythic portrait of creation as the victory of order over hostile, chaotic forces, such as the wild, turbulent God of the ocean. The victory of order over chaos, our eternal quest. And now we find ourselves in chaos we could never have imagined. A perfect storm of virus, economic depression, and cities on fire. Should we mention climate change and habitat destruction and nuclear armaments? The earth is welter and waste, and darkness is over the deep. In their recent book, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu got together on this quote: "No dark fate determines the future. We do. Each day and each moment, we are able to create and recreate our lives and the very quality of human life on our planet. This is the power we wield." The power we wield and the responsibility. Listen now to the psalm assigned to this day of the church year. Psalm 8, for the lead player on the Gittith, a David psalm. Lord, our Master, how majestic is your name in all the earth, whose splendor was told over the heavens. From the mouth of babes and sucklings, you founded strength on account of your foes to put an end to enemy and avenger. When I see your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars you fixed firm, what is man that you should note him, and the human creature that you pay him heed? And you make him little less than the gods. With glory and grandeur you crown him. You make him rule over the work of your hands. All things you set under his feet, sheep and oxen all together, and also the beasts of the field, birds of the heavens, and fish of the sea, what moves on the paths of the seas. Lord, our Master, how majestic is your name in all the earth. So, what's a gittith? As one commentator puts it, this is another musical instrument that has eluded persuasive identification. What's up with God drawing strength from the mouths of babes and sucklings? Perhaps the innocence of infants is imagined as a source of strength. The work of God's fingers, rather than hands, is probably meant to suggest the delicate tracery of the starry skies. Now comes my unease and my challenge. Humans set on a hierarchical ladder. In this poem, the eye moves vertically downward. At the top, God. Moving downward, the gods or celestial beings below him, God's entourage. Then man, and under man's feet the whole kingdom of other living creatures. Under the feet is a common Near Eastern image of subjugation, which is how the poet in his or her day imagined perfect harmony. Harmony. Lord, our Master, how majestic is your name in all the earth. We notice that this is how the poem begins and how it ends. Though common in other poetic traditions, this verbatim repetition of the first line as the last is somewhat unusual in the Psalms. What it does here is close a perfect circle that celebrates the harmony of God's creation. For the poet, the harmony of creation and the harmony of the poem make a perfect match. One thing Jesus made perfectly clear, he said no one is perfect except God, not even Jesus, which is to say Jesus was one of us. And he was compassionate to help us see that as humans crowned with glory and grandeur to rule creation, we need to start with ourselves. God never misses a chance to help us grow up. Listen to this quote from psychologist Roger Walsh. If we choose to, we can see everyone as our teacher. Those people who have admirable qualities can inspire us. Those with destructive qualities can remind us of our shortcomings and motivate us to change. Confucius was very clear about this. When walking in the company of two other men, I am bound to be able to learn from them. The good points of the one I copy, the bad points of the other I correct in myself. We belong to each other. We need each other. Two of my companions on the journey are Jim Blackburn and Isabel Scurry Chapman. During the pandemic, they've collaborated to produce a kind of keeping watch they call Bird Art and Poetry Vigil. For 70 days and counting, they've emailed a poem and a painting each day about a different bird. Isn't it wonderful there are so many kinds of birds and people to make them known to us? Day 71 featured the Carolina chickadee. As you look at Isabel's painting, listen to Jim's poem. Carolina chickadee. In the Texas hill country, in the summer, I walk to enjoy the start of the day. A green landscape and full creek greeting me. The morning allowing me to continue expanding my understanding. That being alive is made more by linking my soul with nature. A discovery that grows every day, filling me with optimism, grateful, and wearing a smile. I hear and then see the tiny chickadee flitting through the bush, yapping about this and that, fussing at me for interrupting her daily routine, telling larger birds to watch out. A joy to behold, to observe, to absorb. Walk with me as my repaired heart keeps me alive for another day, a repair for which I am thankful, a repair that keeps my eyes open to glimpse my black-capped friend that stops on a limb, offering a view. Walk with me as I explore who I am, probing about life and living things, about my place in the natural order, an order to which I feel a duty as a sentient being with self-will. Walk with me as I search for insights into how to live life well, a task of which I will never tire, one I understand but cannot well articulate. Walk with me as we talk of good friends, who are among the greatest gifts of life. Walk with me as I remember to tell them how much they mean to me. Thanks for walking and talking and musing about life and living while enjoying the Carolina chickadee along with me. Who is wise? He who learns from all people. Thank you, Jim and Isabel. Once a Carolina chickadee smacked into my front door and knocked itself silly. I picked it up and held it warm in my hand for a long time, astonished at the exquisite beauty, the tiny perfection. After a while it came to its senses, looked up at me in surprise, and zoomed away. So, one bird of the heavens in my hand for me to rule over. Or was it the other way around? To close our lesson, an old song given new expression for a new day. A lady way back in the 19th century wrote it. Due to a family illness, her dreams for her own life had to be set aside. So she decided to make the best of it. A choice given to every one of us, now more than ever.
Do not wait until some deed of greatness you may do. Do not wait to shed your light afar. Hard times hit our shining seas, oh my Lord, it's true. Bright in the corner where you are. Bright in the corner where you are. Bright in the corner where you are. You know change, it is a coming. Well, it ain't that far. Bright in the corner where you are. Just above our clouded skies that you may help to clear. Don't you let things remain as they are. Though into one humble heart may fall your song of cheer, just bright in the corner where you are. Bright in the corner where you are. well, it ain't that far. Right in the corner where you are. Main Street's closing